All right. So we are primarily crossing the country on this Demand Justice Just Majority bus tour for Supreme Court expansion. And Fred, you have a personal anecdote about Brett Kavanaugh. We have 5 Supreme Court justices now who are obviously compromised, but this latest bombshell that just came out about Kavanaugh is incredibly relevant right now. So I would love for you to share your story.
So my daughter died 5 years ago, February 14, 2018. About a half year later, about 6 months later, I was at the confirmation hearing for Brett Kavanaugh.
And what made you want to be there?
Well, I was invited by Senator Feinstein, who was the ranking Democrat, and I knew Kavanaugh appeared to have some connections to the gun lobby and politicians supported by it, and I was worried about his role on the Supreme Court. And while at the hearing, I had an opportunity, he was standing right behind me, to engage him. And I tried. And I introduced myself to him, I extended my hand, and I said, "Hi, my name is Fred Guttenberg, father of Jamie Guttenberg, who was murdered in Parkland." That's the way I introduced myself to everybody.
Right.
And as soon as he heard the murder in Parkland, he turned and ran.
That's just so cowardly.
But here's why it matters. What I wanted to say to him that day, and what I hope he still hears, is that he was a father of daughters, some of whom were around the age of my daughter.
Yeah.
And I simply wanted to say to him, when you inevitably have a Second Amendment case in the Supreme Court, to remember your kids, to remember my daughter and all other victims of gun violence, and put them at least on an equal platform with those who put you in that Supreme Court seat. I never got the chance to tell him that, and he clearly never got the message because he voted to strike down the Bruin law, which was over 100-year law. This country has a history of gun safety measures. It's not the way people think of it now. Our history is as a gun safety country, and what this Supreme Court wants to do is start striking down those laws.
It's unreal to me that they still put money above preserving life. It's just, it doesn't make sense to us because we're not owned by the gun lobby. We're not owned by anyone. We just thrive and we live based on our ideals, our experiences, and our need to make this country better. And when we have this kind of obstruction, like, how do you do it how do you get up every single day and do it is the question I'm asked, but it's easier for me because I'm not carrying the kind of weight. So how do you get up every day and fight?
Because it all seems small compared to my daughter running down the hallway knowing there was a shooter with an AR-15 at her back running for her life. That's big.
Yes.
Anything I ever do will be inconsequential compared to her fight for her life. And so, listen, I don't spend any more time trying to figure out why these people are the way they are.
Right.
They just are.
They just are.
That's who they are, and they keep showing us and telling us. And so the bottom line is, my message is now more directed at the American voter in 2024, because no matter who the candidate is, they may not be the perfect candidate. They may not be your number one choice. I don't care. You get your ass off the couch and you vote, because you're voting for the rights to save lives by reducing gun violence. You're voting for choice. You're voting for freedom. You're voting for voting rights. You don't have to love the candidate, but you need to vote for them.
Right.
Do not sit home in 24.
You cannot stay home. You have to show up and vote. Fred Guttenberg, thank you so much for sitting down with Occupy Democrats. Thank you for your advocacy. And I think that if anybody has to go through any kind of grief, you are the example of how to channel it and make it into activism as an example for others. And I just appreciate everything that you do. And I say this with all love and gratitude for all that you do. Please follow Fred Guttenberg on Twitter, and please make sure you are pushing to expand the Supreme Court. We absolutely must.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.